Hello everyone, my name is Hank Wilson, and apparently I have anger issues. I lean back, cross my arms and look around. This group counseling session has been ordered by the court. I'm 35 years old, married, and have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl, whom I love more than anything. Jeff, the court-appointed group counselor, looks at me with his usual neutral expression. Hank, can you tell us why the court has asked you to be here today? I sigh, feeling the stabs of the gaze. Jeff, this is not a short story. Jeff nodded, taking in every detail. It's okay, Hank, the next 3 hours. As I felt the familiar sense of frustration stir beneath my skin, but I pushed it back. I won't tell you how I met my wife, but her name was Kathy, and for a while I thought she was the most amazing woman in the world. It all started when I went to a bachelor party. My brother was getting married, and we wanted to surprise him. We went all out, hiring strippers and prostitutes. After all, it was my brother. I told Kathy all about it, every detail. I didn't want anything to spoil the party. It was a blast. It started at about 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon and ended at 7 o'clock on Sunday night, when the police came to the room because of the noise. Kathy and I talked at least 12 times at my brother's wedding party. They went on their honeymoon. It's been 3 months since the party ended, and life has returned to normal. Or at least I think so. I came home from work and took a long shower in the bathroom. I admit, I stink. I'm a fisherman, but I like working on the docks. I think it's because we're all men, you know, and we hang out a lot, talk, but it's not much use. I just got out of the shower and everything went black. It must have been a truck, but how did it get into my bathroom? I tried to stand up, but for some reason I couldn't move. I looked around, but everything was blurry, and I could only make out 2 figures in front of me. When my eyes focused, I saw my wife and her sister standing in front of me. Kathy said, "Do you want to betray me?" I said, "What's wrong with you?" I tried to stand up and realized I was tied to the chair with duct tape. I say duct tape because it was wrapped around my ankles at least 20 times. I couldn't move. I told her to let me go now, and I said, "I'll deal with you later, you bastard." Kathy said, "Deal with you later. What the hell is she talking about? I didn't do anything. My brother and I made sure we didn't break any rules, and they both left. I must have sat there for an hour, and then they came back." Kathy strolled in, followed by the 5 guys from the bachelor party. I looked up at them and told them to let me go. Mark had always been one of my oldest friends. I'd known him for over 20 years. He was my best man, and I named my son after him. His wife was the only woman I really trusted, apart from my wife. Mark bent down and looked me straight in the eye and said, "Hank, you shouldn't have betrayed Kathy." Before I could respond, Kathy shoved a gag ball into my mouth. Betray Kathy? The bastard knew I never betrayed her. Needless to say, they fucked for 3 hours straight, and after they were done, she went to take a shower, leaving me with my 5 ex-boyfriends. Mark said it was a pity we didn't have a video camera. I just sat there motionless until one of the guys removed the gag. I moved my jaw a little and looked straight at them. Mark came over and said she was pretty good. I've always wanted to fuck her. I just couldn't pass up the opportunity. I know that after this we can never be friends again, but I had to do it. I didn't say anything, I just looked at him and smiled. Mark said, "Hank, just forget it, because if you don't, someone's going to get hurt." Then he punched me with something I didn't know about, but a few hours later I woke up in the hospital. I looked around and saw Kathy sitting in a chair. She must have dozed off, so I got the attention of a nurse. "Can you call the police for me?" I asked the nurse to call the police for me, and when I showed her my wrist, she immediately said she'd be right back. About 5 minutes later, she returned and said they were already on their way. When the police arrived, Kathy finally woke up. She asked me what had happened, and I said my name was Hank Wilson. About 7 hours ago, my wife had some men tie me up and humiliate me in front of her as payback for what she thought was cheating on her. The only problem, apart from the question of proving how much she loves me, is that I've never cheated on her. I can tell you the names of everyone present. I know 2 of them are police officers. So if you're not going to do your job properly, leave now. When I get out of here, I can go to the state attorney's office. The police officer said, "Sir, please tell us what happened." I explained to him about the party and what happened. Kathy just sat there, shocked, listening to me. I told the officer that the party was recorded to document everything, and I mentioned that if anyone had brought an escort, it would be clearly shown on the tape. The officer walked up to Kathy, told her to stand up and said, "Ma'am, you have the right to remain silent." She was charged with assault and kidnapping. I gave them the names of every man involved in the incident. I thought, now is the time to bring pain to the people who hurt me. Now is the time to make everyone involved suffer. When Kathy was released, she turned to me and said, "It's not over. You're lying, Hank, and I'm going to make you pay." The police officer told her that she was also charged with making physical threats against me. I was weak in the hospital and had formulated a plan to bring pain to those who had hurt me. So I had to make sure I really wanted revenge. So I made a list. First, they put me in the hospital. Second, they lied to me and put me in the hospital. Third, they screwed my wife and put me in the hospital. Fourth, my wife is 304 and helped them put me in the hospital. That's the list. They can have 304 besides. I'm in the hospital. I want revenge, even if it kills me. My plan, I probably sat in the hospital the next week planning and scheming. I went to the bank after I got out of the hospital and withdrew $500. Right there, the teller told me that my wife had been trying to withdraw money, and when she found out that her name wasn't on any of my accounts, she got angry. Then she came back with a lawyer and was told that even with a lawyer, her name wasn't on any of the accounts. They left angry. I went straight to my brother and asked him if he knew a good lawyer. He got angry with me and asked me how I could arrest our friend. As I turned to leave, he ran out and stopped me. "Hank, what's going on?" For the next hour, I explained to my brother and his wife what had happened. They sat there with their eyes wide open and their mouths hanging wide open. When I finished, his wife looked at me and said I was a liar. My brother told her I never lied and that she should stay out of it. She told him that he didn't know and to shut up. She asked him if she was on 3044's side, what was her problem, and to get out. "This is my brother, you." She looked at him and got up to leave. She went into their bedroom, got her purse, and told him she was going out. My brother looked her straight in the eye and told her to let him get this straight. "If you're involved in this, if you're not on my brother's side, then just tell me, and we can make this marriage work. Because you're either on our side or you're not." She looked at him and walked out the door. We heard the car start, then the door open and she was gone, leaving her wedding ring on the floor. My brother said, "That's it then," and she turned and walked away. The first thing we did was go to a lawyer. We put my plan into action. The weekend ended on Friday, and the moment of truth came at exactly 9 o'clock. My real estate agent put the "for sale" sign in the front yard, just as Kathy was getting ready to go to work. Kathy jumped out of the car and asked what he was doing. The agent told her that the owner was preparing the documents to sell the house. Kathy screamed, "He can't do that." "Of course he can, it's his house." While Kathy was at work, Kathy's boss walked in with the young man, saying that he was looking for her. The guy asked if she was Kathy Wilson. He handed her a big brown envelope and said, "Here's your summons." Later that day, I got no less than 50 phone calls from 5 wives asking me what the hell was going on. I told each and every one of them the whole story, leaving out no detail. I got no less than 30 death threats. I taped them all as they ranted and raved, which only made me laugh and made them angrier. What I could never understand was why, when you fuck someone's wife and beaten the shit out of them, the next day you don't think they'll get back at me. My lawyer delivered 5 civil suits, and I demanded $1 million for each. I sued Kathy for assault and battery and theft of personal property. My brother just joined me in the rampage. He'd had a few run-ins with our so-called friends and family. The day of the assault charge trial was approaching, and my brother's wife wanted to talk, but she'd already made her choice, and so had he. On the day before the trial, when leaving work, Mark came out from behind a car and tried to grab me. I pulled out and accidentally shot him in the testicles. When the police arrived, he screamed that I had tried to kill him. I told the police what had happened, and if they didn't believe me, to go and look at the surveillance tapes. Mark started looking around and noticed the cameras everywhere. "Mark, you're such a dumbass. But don't worry, they might be able to reattach your balls, but if not, we'll know who's going to jail. A man without balls in prison, you'll be very popular." I said, "Officer, you've got the surveillance tapes and you're asking for my gun license." I pulled out my gun and showed it to him, and the officer said I could go. The verdict was a no-brainer. The bachelor party video not only proved that I never cheated, but also that I called Kathy every few hours. Mark and Kathy decided to be tried together. She just knew they would be acquitted. The judge asked Kathy who told her that I cheated. She said Mark. Mark's lawyer called it a lie. He said that Kathy was a 304 and had been trying to get Mark to sleep with her. Kathy sat in the witness box with her mouth open. Her lawyer yelled out an objection and asked for a recess. Kathy's lawyer came over to me and asked me to talk to him. "Hank, I know you hate her right now, but can you just let her die? Her lawyer said, "Why should I help her? They tied me up and took me to the hospital, and now you want me to help her fuck her? I almost died, so let her rot." I walked away. Kathy asked if I could talk to her. "Hank, I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. I was so angry I didn't think he'd set me up. Please, Hank, you know I have a temper. Hank, I know you still love me. Deep down you love me. Please lower your pride and help me. Kathy, you hurt me. You really hurt me. I will go against my own judgment and ask the prosecutor to go easy on you." I said and left, went to talk to the prosecutor. I smiled and walked up to the prosecutor, bent down and whispered in his ear, "Please." I looked at them and gave them the thumbs up. "I will help her the way she helped me when I was tied up and beaten. Now you want my help." Kathy was sentenced to 8 years in prison and Mark was sentenced to 25 years. When everyone else found out about the sentences, they all wanted to make a deal. Mark's wife Karen came to see me after he was sentenced. "Hank, I know he hurt you and ruined your marriage. But did you have to do this to us?" Karen asked. "Karen, I know you're hurting, but they tied me up, your husband beat me up. I was lying in the hospital, exhausted, and they and Kathy made me sit there and bleed. I did what I had to do. I wanted to kill them all, at least then you would have hope. He would get out of prison one day. You could go on with your lives, but I lost my wife, my friends, and part of my family. Who is more hurt?" I turned around and left. You think the story ends there, but it doesn't. I took an anger management course because while Mark was in prison waiting to be transported, I was arrested for drunk driving during the 10 days I was serving. I kicked his ass as much as I could. In the interrogation room, I punched him in the face, smashed him with a metal tray, and kicked the remaining balls times. When I had to face the judge, he said he knew what I had done and gave me a fine and 4 more trials to serve. I managed to even the score with each of those bastards. 2 of them jumped me in a bar fight while the cops were coming. Someone happened to have a taser, and they both got shocked with over 1,000 volts. The last 2 were beaten by 4 masked men. The funny thing is, I was visiting my cousin in Texas at the time, so now I'm sitting here talking to you because the judge thought I had anger issues. They sat there for a minute and then started clapping. I didn't know what was happening. Jeff stood up and said, "Hank, you need to learn to let go and not seek revenge." Then he looked at me and shook my hand. "Hank, you don't have to worry about losing money in the divorce. Mark and the others are in jail. What more could you want?" Jeff said, "I'm not asking for anything." I said I didn't notice anything. In class, I noticed that those bastards got off easy. One guy in the class found out his wife was cheating on him and stuck the handle of an axe in the guy's asshole. Another guy got a pair of pliers and locked his wife's lover in the closet. What scared me most was a doctor who drugged his wife's lover and removed his testicles. They all served at least 5 years, and as part of their parole conditions, they had to attend this course. I think the judge was trying to tell me something. My brother's wife came home and did everything she could to make him forgive her. Kathy was her best friend, so I told him he should at least try. I told him she chose to be on our side because she could have told Kathy about the plan, but she didn't. I was dating that red-headed savage I met in prison, and when I gave Kathy the final divorce papers, she seemed to be doing the same thing. Karen's divorce from Mark was final, and she asked me out to talk about what Mark had asked her to do. It seems that Mark had made some new friends in prison, and he wanted her to kill me so that he could ask for a new trial. So she told Mark her revenge plan. "I promise you, Hank will pay. I'll take my time, let him look me in the eye and know how I feel about what happened." Karen said Mark was a very happy man. Karen was right. When I looked into her eyes, in that moment of connection, all I saw was love. Kathy wrote to me every week, asking me to come and talk to her. She knew she was wrong, but she was so angry that she even went to group sessions to talk about her problems. I know that feeling. How do I feel now? Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.